Hi everybody, how's it going, Facebook friends? It's a pleasure to have you all here in the group, and I'm excited because today is our first weekly podcast that we're going to be having at 12 p.m. every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you for joining. You could just mark your calendar, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, right here in the club, in the Gay Man Fitness Club. I'm going to be joining live with a topic that you have requested during the week. And today's topic is one that was really common. In the welcome video for the group, I asked you guys to let me know if you wanted to build some muscle or if you wanted to lose fat. And a lot of people answered that they actually wanted to do both and at the same time. So today's answer to that question is, do you really have to choose, or can you do both? Can you burn fat and build muscle at the same time? The short answer is yes, you can actually do that, and that is called body recomposition. If you have ever heard of that term, body recomposition, just drop it in the comments below, body recomposition, so that I know that you're already familiar with it. And if you don't know what it is, or if you've heard of it but you don't know how to do it, stick around. I'm going to talk about what it is and the types of people who may benefit from body recomposition approaches to their training and to the diet, and also how to do it, right? So if you really want to lose some fat while simultaneously building muscle, stick around for today's podcast. So I wanted to greet Roland, Louis for watching, and Frank. It's good morning to you. It's good afternoon right here. Dwayne is also watching, so thank you guys for joining and for supporting the group. Well, you're probably familiar with the terms bulking and cutting. And if you are currently bulking, meaning that you're trying to gain some mass, so you're eating more than you're burning in a caloric surplus because you want to build muscle, then drop a comment saying bulking if you're bulking right now. And I just wanted to point out too that a really quick bulk, if you want to bulk really quickly, it might mean that you're also putting on a lot of fat in the process, so slow down with the bulking. You also might be familiar with the term cutting. I've seen it in the group. Some people say they're cutting. And so for those of you who are currently cutting and watching right now, just write in the comments, cutting. And what that would mean is that they're trying to lose some weight. They probably want to lose some body fat, so they're restricting how much they eat. They're in a calorie deficit, meaning they're eating less than they're burning. But then again, if you want to rush through it and then burn it really quickly and you're cutting too many calories, you also run a risk of burning and losing actually that muscle, that lean mass in the process. So that's my quick tip before we even dive in. If you're bulking or cutting right now, just take your time, do it slowly so that you don't gain too much fat in the process of bulking or lose too much precious muscle mass while in the process of cutting. But without any further ado, let's just jump into the answer to the question, can you build muscle and burn fat at the same time, or can you work on your body composition or body recomposition? And the short answer, like I said before, is yes. I'm going to dive into the 4 types of people that might benefit from this approach, and the one type that might not really benefit so much from that approach, and I'm also going to explain to you how to do it. So I hope that you're still tuned in with me. And the most important thing when we talk about body composition is that the number on the scale really won't be your best friend there. It won't guide you in terms of letting you know if you're doing the right thing when you're working on body recomposition or burning fat and building muscle at the same time, because most likely your body will be the same. So when you step on the scale, you see the same number, but from those pounds or from those kilos that you see that number representing, how many pounds or kilos are body fat and how many pounds or kilos are actually muscle mass. And like I said before in a previous video, there are different ways to find out If you're interested in learning the different ways that you can calculate or estimate your body composition in terms of how much body fat you have and then how much lean mass you have, drop it in the comments below so that I know that I can talk about it in a later video. Just comment body fat assessment, and then I can show you different ways that you can measure it at home, and also just the other more sophisticated ways that you can have it measured somewhere else. Well, having said that, the number on the scale is really not going to be the best guide, and I even asked the question earlier today on my page, what is more important to you, the number on the scale or how you look or how you feel? And because a lot of people come to me and they say they have a goal number, they want to reach 140 pounds, 190 pounds, 200 pounds, but what composition do they want those pounds to be in? How much body fat do they want to have, and how much muscle do they want to have? Or is it more important to them to actually look good, and when they look, they see more muscle and less fat, or their clothes fitting better, or just how their body's moving? So that was some food for thought in the beginning of the week to get you primed up for the video. Feel free, since you're live, to write questions or comments so that I can interact with you. That's the benefit of joining me here live on this podcast, our number one podcast, every week at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesdays. If you can't make it because you're working or busy, it's going to be posted on the page later so you can watch, and also drop these comments, and I'll be reading them and commenting back to you. All right, so I hope you guys are ready to jump into the first part, which is what kinds of people are most likely to benefit from the body recomposition approach, which is focusing at the seemingly impossible task of building muscle and burning fat at the same time, when they practically involve two opposite approaches of eating more calories if you want to than you burn if you want to bulk or if you want to build, or eating fewer calories if you want to lose. And the answer is yes, you could do that. And the four types of people who can manage that and probably will benefit from that are: number one, beginners or new lifters, the newbies. So if you have started working out just now, you've never worked out before with weights, you've never trained, or if you started training less than a year ago, I would consider you to be a novice lifter. So those people will really greatly benefit from having a body recomposition goal as opposed to trying to bulk or trying to cut, mainly because their muscles are primed for growth. They haven't been stimulated before with training because, as I said before, you're new or you've just started. So any stimulus that you give to your muscle will be your muscles will have to respond, right, and really quickly. So that's why when you're new and you just start, you see all those gains really quickly. Now, when I say novices or beginners, don't just think about the time or how long you've been training, because I have met people who have been lifting for years and years and years, but they haven't really been optimally training, meaning they're not really training within the maximum potential that they have, right? So they're not really doing it seriously. They're not following a program, or maybe their diet is not adequate for their training, or their training is submaximal. So don't think that only because you've been training for more than a year, then you're not a beginner or a novice. So also go back and rethink, how hard have you been training? If you're a new lifter, a beginner, drop in a comment. Just write in beginner so that I know who you are and I can reach out to you and we can talk about it. So beginners are the number one type of people that can benefit from body recomposition because their muscles are primed for growth because of the new stimulus. The second type of person who can benefit from this approach are people who are obese or very overweight, extremely overweight, and that would mean that your body fat levels are over 25%. As I said before, if you don't know how to calculate or estimate or measure your body fat percentage, drop it in the comments below. I can make another video about that later on if you're interested in finding out how you can calculate that. But if you're obese or overweight and you have a higher body fat percentage above 25%, then you will also benefit from the body recomposition approach of trying to build muscle and burn fat at the same time. And the main reason for that is because you have higher levels of body fat, your body can use those ample storage, ample fat that's stored in your body as fuel for energy when you're working out. So you won't be tapping into that muscle, and you most likely haven't been training hard, and so you have the same benefit as the beginners because your muscles haven't really been stimulated as much. So they had also are primed for growth, and you have lots and lots and lots of energy stored away as fat cells in your body that you're going to start burning when you do start to exercise. So if you're obese or very overweight, then you can also benefit from that approach. The third type of person who can benefit from body recomposition approaches are detrained individuals or detrainees. So basically people who were already lifting before, they were jacked, they were in pretty good shape, they were pretty lean and muscular before, but they had to stop for a little while, either because they've had an injury that they've had to take some time off from training to recover from, or maybe they had to take a break for other reasons. It could be work related, or they couldn't have access to the gym, like right now when a lot of people were not able to get access to equipment or to weights or resistance training, or maybe they just got lazy for a little while. So a lot of people talk about that muscle memory, which is not really a scientific term, right? Our muscles don't have any memory. But if you are just detrained, meaning your body was already really close to the maximal genetic potential that you had, and you just took a little break and you want to go back to it, meaning you really probably don't have a lot of body fat to lose, and you already have a base of muscle, like a good muscle mass base, and you already know how to train. So getting back to the gym right now after a short hiatus, you could also benefit from this approach. The fourth and last type of people who definitely will benefit from the body recomposition approach is people who are on anabolic steroids, which I do not want to judge, and I also do not want to recommend. But one of the main reasons why people use those substances is the benefit, right, of just being able to build more muscle through the help of hormones, and also being able to burn more fat artificially through those hormones. I cannot advise or recommend any sort of use, and I do not really think that that's the way to go. I personally have never used it, and I would not want to use it right now. Never say never. I mean, I do not want to judge anybody if you do use it, but then if you are on steroids, then that's also a good strategy. It could work for you. The one type of individual that might not really benefit so much from body recomposition approaches to dieting and training are those highly trained individuals who are already pretty lean. They're below 10% body fat, and they are training and following their diet for a while. They are working hard, and they're really, really, really close to their maximum genetic potential. So for those people, it is probably going to be more practical to just focus on their specific goal of either dropping below the 10% body fat or trying to bulk up by following the traditional strict bulking phase or cutting phase that I mentioned earlier on. So right now, I would like you to comment there. Do you fit into any of these categories? If you're a newbie or a beginner, drop the word in a comment. If you are overweight, over 25% body fat right now, write it in the comments. If you don't want to write that in a comment, you can just reach out to me directly by private message. And if you're detrained, you just had to take a break for some reason because you were injured, or because you were busy or didn't have access to a gym, or for any other reason, and you're just trying to get back, write in detrained. And if you're using steroids and don't mind sharing with the group, then feel free to write that word too in the comments, so that I know what you guys are doing and I can reach out to you individually and help you out. Well, moving on to now how you can make body recomposition goals and approaches work for you. If you're in one of those 4 types of people, then let's just jump right into how you can do it. And there are going to be 5 steps to working on burning fat and building muscle at the same time. Number one thing you really want to do is focus on your weight training, resistance training. And so let's, if you want to compare your body to a car, then weight training is like the engine of the car. That's going to keep you moving, right? So if you're not working out right now, how are you going to build muscle? As I said before, if your muscles don't have any reason to grow, if you're not stimulating it with something more challenging every day, then they have no reason to grow. They're just going to stay where they are, the same size, right? So leave a comment right here if you are training right now, because that's what you really want to do to be able to build some muscle. And so the rules of muscle building or muscle growth or hypertrophy will apply here in body recomposition, and there are so many of them that I would need to do another video just about muscle growth through training. I would just briefly point out here what you would need to be doing, basically focusing on compound movements that involve multiple joints, squats, bench presses, deadlifts, rows, etc. They will recruit the most muscle groups at the same time, so they're a good bang for your buck, and you're probably going to go heavier on those, which leads me to the second principle of muscle growth, which is progressive overload, increasing the level of challenge you're applying to your muscles. It could be by using more weights, gradually increasing the weights that you're using for your exercise. It could be adding more sets. It could be adding more reps. It could be resting less in between sets. There are a number of different variables you can change around to achieve progressive overload, but there has got to be progressive overload. And that would also include a deload once you've reached a maximum level of fatigue, so that you can recover, so you can give your body some rest. So do not neglect also the period of deloading when I talk about progressive overload, right? The other principles you could apply for weight training if you want to grow your muscle is time under tension, increasing the time that your muscle is under tension. That's also another good strategy that you could use. Trying to hit each muscle group at least twice a week. That is optimal for muscle growth. Instead of just hitting it once a week really hard, aim for 2 or even 3 times a week for stimulus for each muscle group. And also the volume of training. I would aim for about 10 to 20 working sets for each muscle group per week, depending on your fitness level, of course. So like I said, if you want to learn more about training, weight training specifically in this group, write in the comments, training, and we could do other live sessions about training and these different variables that I mentioned. But the topic today is body recomposition. So if you want to build muscle and burn fat at the same time, you got to work on building muscle through resistance training. So that is number one. And also remember, your muscles will not grow while you're training. So don't spend hours and hours and hours in the gym and work out every day like crazy, because you need to rest, you need to sleep, you need to recover, you need to relax. And that's when your body will start to repair, recover, and then grow. So don't neglect those. Moving on to the second step in body recomposition, it has everything to do with your diet or nutrition. When I say diet, I don't mean you're going on a diet. I'm just talking about what you eat, or nutrition. So it is important to have a primary goal when you're going into body recomposition approaches to dieting as well. The number one thing is you might not see the scale moving, right? Because you're just getting more muscle mass, and then you just losing fat at the same time. So the weight might be the same, but you still have to choose which way you really want to go. So if you have a lot of fat to lose, you have a higher percentage of a body fat, then your approach would be really to try to lean out a little bit while you're doing body recomposition. So if you have a higher percentage of body weight, I would say anything above 20-25% body weight, you really want to focus on a slight calorie deficit meaning taking in or eating about 10 or even 20% less than your body needs to maintain that weight. So a 20 to 20% calorie deficit, right? That would work out for most people at somewhere around 500 calories a day below the number of maintenance calories that your body needs. If you don't know how to calculate your maintenance calories, you don't know how many calories your body's burning and to maintain that weight, then also drop that in a comment. Just put in the word maintenance calories. I can point you in the right direction on how to calculate your maintenance calories. A very simple rule of thumb would be multiplying your body weight in pounds by 15, and that will give you roughly the number of calories that your body will need to maintain its weight. So that's a good starting point. Multiply your body weight by 15 and you get a ballpark figure of your maintenance calories. So if you're trying to do body recomposition but you have a higher percentage of body fat, aim for a very slight reduction, so 10% or 20% lower than your maintenance calories. And however, if you are leaner, you don't have a lot of body fat, maybe around 15 to 20% body fat or less than that, and you want to work on body recomposition, then your primary goal really is to build muscle. You don't really have a lot of fat to lose. So I would aim for a slight calorie surplus, meaning eating just a little bit more than your body needs to maintain its body weight. You can again use the same formula to have a ballpark figure of how many calories your body needs. 15 times your body weight in pounds. If you want a more precise or different ways to calculate it, then this formula I'm giving you, drop it in the comments. Maintenance calories, and I will point you in the right direction, or even make a video about calculating your maintenance calories. So yes, try to have a primary goal. Shoot for a slight surplus of maybe just 5 to 10% if you're trying to lean out just a little bit more, but you don't have a lot of body fat to lose. And while I'm talking about maintenance calories, there are different formulas, there are different calculators that you could use. This multiplication that I told you about, but there's only a way to find out, right? These numbers are just estimates. So the best way to do it is really to stick to the same number of calories for a few days. You're gonna have to track it. You're gonna have to measure it to see if you're gaining weight. Then it means that it's too much for you. If you're losing weight, then that number is actually too low. So always go by your personal experience. Don't trust the formula 100%. It's not gonna work out. All right, moving on to the third point in this body recomposition approach, that has to do with the macro split or the macronutrients in your calorie counts. So once you've already established how many calories you need to eat a day, if you have a slight surplus or a slight deficit, then you need to figure out where those calories are coming from. Are you eating proteins? How many grams of protein, how many grams of carbs, how many grams of fat? So what I strongly recommend if you want to build muscle and you need to build muscle for a body recomposition to work, focus on your protein intake. Aim for at least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight a day. And remember that 1 gram of protein has 4 calories. So you can just multiply the number of pounds you weigh, multiply that by 1, that's the number of grams of protein you're going to eat. So let's say you're 200 pounds, you're going to be eating at least 200 grams, not 200 pounds. You're going to be eating 200 grams of protein a day. So remember, 1 gram of protein is 4 calories. That's 800 calories that you're taking in this specific examples from proteins. Now, if you are more on the overweight, obese side, you may shoot for 1.2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. And if you are already pretty lean and you want to get more muscular, you could even go as up to 1.6 grams of protein per pound of body weight a day. Again, these are rough estimates. You're really going to have to test it out and see how your body responds. That is key. Just don't trust the formulas will work 100%. The remainder of those calories, once you've calculated out how many grams of protein you're eating a day or how many calories are coming from protein, the remainder of those calories can come from carbohydrates and fat. They will give you the fuel that you need, the energy that you need to do your daily activities and to work out, whereas the protein is going to help you to repair and build muscle with protein synthesis. You can choose your split, the percentage of carbohydrates and the percentage of fat that suits your eating preferences. But I would not go any lower than 20% of the total calories of fat, because fats are essential in keeping your hormones balanced. So if you're lower than 20% in fat, your hormones might suffer, cortisol levels, stress levels will go up, testosterone levels will go down, you're going to start storing more fat and you're not going to be able to build muscle. So that is my personal recommendation, and it is also, all of these numbers are also based on lots and lots and lots of scientific studies. So experiment with the macro split that works for you. All right, now last but not least, we got the fifth step in working towards building fat, building muscle and burning fat at the same time, or body recomposition, which is the nutrient timing. So basically thinking of spreading out your protein intake evenly during the day in at least 3 to 4 meals to optimize protein synthesis in the muscles so that they can grow. Try not to eat almost all of your protein grams in just 1 or 2 meals a day. Spread it out evenly during the day in as many meals as you can or are able to eat. Secondly, in terms of nutrient timing, I would point out the importance of pre-workout and post-workout nutrition so that you are fueled, you have enough energy to work out at the gym or with weights at home to build muscle, so that you're pushing yourself hard and doing more and more and more and more each time with the progressive overload. Or even when you're in deload week, you also want to maintain that energy in a positive balance before working out, and you also want to have a really good meal after working out. So those pre-workout and post-workout meals are key in helping you get the results that you want and using fat for fuel and maintaining lean mass. Make sure you eat a good amount of carbs and protein before and after the workouts. After the workout is going to help you replenish your glycogen levels that have been depleted, or your energy levels that have been depleted through the workout. It's going to help you bring down the cortisol or stress hormones, that stress that you're putting on your muscles that we don't want to have. So focus on the nutrient timing and those details, right? Optimize your nutrition. And while we're speaking of details, pay attention to every detail, assess and monitor how you're feeling. Not just a number on the scale. As I said, it's not really going to show you much. It might stay exactly the same. So you need to see, to observe how you feel. You may need to rely on body fat percentage measurements. You might need to rely on measuring the girth of parts of your body to see if they are actually growing. You also could rely on photographs to see if you can notice less fat and more muscle in different parts of your body. Notice how your clothes fit and how you feel. So tracking and monitoring your progress is key. All right, so we're getting close to the end of this video. I want to take a look here at the comments and see if anybody wrote a question. If there's anybody wants to ask a question right here, feel free. Somebody asked, Frank asked, do you feel like a high protein keto diet can work with this? Absolutely. Yes, it can work with this because you're getting enough protein, so that if that's high protein, although I would have to just correct a little bit of that idea that the keto diet is high protein, because it's actually a high fat protein and it's a high fat diet and moderate protein diet. So the keto diet it can work for body recomposition because you're taking in a moderate amount of protein. Like I said before, at least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight a day, and you're taking a high fat diet, meaning the remainder of the calories, when you already count your protein, you're taking in more fat than you're taking carbs. So as long as you're hitting those numbers, the total number of calories is what's really going to matter. And the macro split is the second most important thing. So you can split up your macros between, after you get your protein intake dialed in, you can choose to go with a high fat, such as keto, and low carb, or you can have, a balance between both, or higher carb and lower fat. That is your preference, so it definitely will work for you. I don't want to make this too long, so I think that I've covered a lot already. If you liked the video, please just click on the like button. If there's any other questions that you couldn't think of right now, or you're watching this later, just write a comment. I'll go back to this video later to check it out. And join me next week for the second episode of the podcast at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Wednesday. We're going to join in here. We actually need a name for this podcast. I was thinking of Take Pride in Your Body podcast. Not very sure. So I would really love your feedback, because this is a community. This is for all of us. So I would like you to suggest a name for this podcast. If there's anything that you think, if you're getting creative right now with a name for the podcast, let me know in the group. Reach out to me. If you think this is super complicated and you don't want to think about it, or you just want to get a program that you can follow, reach out to me so we can talk about one-on-one coaching. It will be a pleasure for me to help you out. And I'm just going to leave you so you can go about the rest of your day today. Hope that you enjoyed this #1 podcast, and did you learn something new? If you learned something new, leave me a comment. Just put it in yes, it was helpful, or make a comment or something that you learned, what you took away from this. Recommend it to your friends. Feel free to share, and come back next week. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.